In this video, we'll be taking a look at 5 college basketball games happening on December 6th, 2025, and providing you with free team picks and total picks for each one of those games, so 10 picks in total. Welcome back to Cash Out Sports. Let's dive right into it. Oh, and don't forget to subscribe and to click the bell icon to get notified as soon as these videos get released, so that you have more time to plan out your bets as we provide these videos on a daily basis. I can guarantee that you'll have all the important information that you'll need on these 5 college basketball games after fully watching this video. One more thing before we start: if you would like to gain access to our best exclusive sports picks to take your journey to the next level, then check out our Patreon in the link down below, where we offer our best single picks, parlay picks, and much more. Now let's get started. Duke versus Michigan State. Noon in East Lansing, Breslin Center full, 2 top 10 programs, both unbeaten, and the whole thing feels tight before the ball even goes up. Duke arrives with a clean resume that has stayed inside friendly setups, big neutral floors, comfy home dates, one true trip to an Army gym, but not much that looks like this kind of road test. Michigan State comes in with an identity that leans into contact, strong half-court defense, and a clear edge on the glass where they have pushed teams around by wide margins. Izzo's group moves the ball, trusts its system, and is fine with a game that turns into a slow grind where each trip turns into a small war in the paint. Duke leans into spacing and tempo, wants early offense, and hunts quick advantages in transition lanes before the defense can get its feet set. The clash between that fast, polished perimeter attack and a home team that leans on toughness, continuity, and size on the board sets up a long day of bruises, loud whistles, and a result shaped by who handles that pressure-packed setting better in the last few possessions. As our first pick for this matchup, the Michigan State Spartans to cover the spread as favorites is our full game side pick. Now look at the total on this game and think about how these two actually play across 40 minutes. Duke scores in bunches when it gets out and runs, but its profile this season leans on strong efficiency on one end and strict discipline on the other, where opponents see their trips stretched out and forced deep into the clock. Michigan State is comfortable in a more methodical rhythm, uses its defense to drag opponents into long half-court sets, and can live with final scores that land in the low 60s if that is what the game gives them. Both teams carry elite defensive numbers, both have held opponents to low shooting percentages, and both have recent runs of contests that have ended below the projected totals, which fits the idea of a national stage game that turns into a possession-heavy, whistle-filled, stop-and-start battle. With a noon tip, 2 locked-in defenses, and 2 staffs that will value each trip, this matchup points more toward a controlled pace and more empty trips than the number suggests. As our second pick for this matchup, under the projected total, is our full game total pick. Iowa State versus Purdue. Mackey Arena on a Saturday feels less like a gym and more like a pressure cooker. Iowa State walks into its first true road game of the season, carrying confidence from blowout wins at home and in neutral sites where the crowd volume stays polite. Purdue has gone through tight spots against Memphis, Texas Tech, and a league opener at Rutgers, and came out ahead by double figures each time with a group that has handled every kind of game. The styles do not match at all. Iowa State wants chaos, hunts turnovers, and uses those live ball chances to drive an attack that sits near the top of the charts in points per possession, while Purdue slows the pace, runs half-court sets, and leans on veteran guards and bigs to squeeze value from each trip. Tamin Lipsey sits in the center of that storm for the Cyclones, and he works back from a groin issue with his status in that in-between space, while Purdue's main rotation stays intact and only Jack Benter appears on the report as a sick but likely returning piece. That mix of environment, experience, tempo choice, and health shapes how this spread asks the favorite to turn small edges into a real margin by the final horn. As our first pick for this matchup, the Purdue Boilermakers to cover the spread as favorites is our full game side pick. Iowa State sits near the very top of the scoring list at around 96 points a night on strong efficiency and just dropped 132 with 22 made threes on Alcorn State. Purdue follows close behind at roughly 89 points per game with one of the most efficient half-court offenses in the country. Both teams share the ball with about 20 assists, stretch the floor with several shooters, and rely on creators who live at the rim and at the foul line, a mix that can turn a physical top 10 clash into a long workout for the scoreboard crew. Purdue plays at a measured pace and recent results lean to the under for its games, yet Iowa State's pressure scheme does more than get stops. It produces live ball steals and quick breaks that add possessions possessions and points to what looks like a slow matchup on paper. Add the typical late-game pattern in a high-profile setting with timeouts, intentional fouls, and long reviews, and a result in the low 80s to low 70s range. Something like an 80 to 74 type finish that lines up with current model projections fits how these two offenses function right now. As our second pick for this matchup, over the projected total is our full game total pick. Louisville versus Indiana. This matchup is listed as a neutral site game in Indianapolis, but it sits right in Indiana country. Louisville walks in as the higher-ranked group at number 6. Indiana sits at number 22, and both teams come in at 7-1 after taking their first hit of the season. The line still leans toward Louisville by a few buckets, which tells you the market trusts the Cardinals as the stronger team on a clean floor. Indiana pushes back on that story with how it plays. The Hoosiers win by big gaps on most nights, sit in elite company in scoring margin, and treat defense as their main trait, holding opponents in the low 60s and turning many trips into tough jump shots. Louisville leans into its identity as a high-octane attack, near the top of the charts in scoring and efficiency with a green light from 3. But the Arkansas loss showed what happens when that system steps out of its comfort zone and runs into a physical defense that controls the glass. Now shift that same style into an NBA arena in Indiana territory against a ranked opponent that has already stood up to big-name programs and is annoyed after a flat night at Minnesota, and you get a setup where the Hoosiers can lean on defense, tempo control, and crowd energy to keep this inside 1 or 2 strong runs from either side for the full 40 minutes. As our first pick for this matchup, the Indiana Hoosiers to cover the spread as underdogs is our full game side pick. Oddsmakers hang a total in the high 150s, right near 160, which asks for a game that looks like a full-court race from start to finish with both sides scoring near their season norms or higher. Louisville fits that picture on the surface, with scoring in the mid-90s, efficient half-court sets, and a steady stream of three-point attempts, and Indiana chips in with an offense in the mid-80s and a top-tier national profile. The twist sits on the defensive side. Indiana, under its new coach, runs a more measured pace than its reputation, posts top 20 defensive numbers, holds teams in the low 60s, and forces a heavy share of jump shots, with opponents stuck near 31% from deep and just over 40% inside the arc. Louisville does not rely only on offense either. It grades out as a top 40 defense and pushes opponents into rough shooting nights from both 2 and 3. That combination points toward longer half-court possessions, more set plays, and stretches where one offense or both grind. Even the projection models cannot agree, with some landing near the posted number and others sitting closer to low 70s for each side, which fits a physical, high-level contest more than a free-flowing showcase. With a total this high, the number asks for both teams to hit a hot shooting night in the same building, and a single defense taking control for a few key stretches can pull the final score under that target. As our second pick for this matchup, under the projected total is our full game total pick. Illinois versus Tennessee. Neutral site basketball in Nashville sets up a tight clash between two ranked programs that carry very different reputations. Tennessee comes in as the slight favorite on the betting board, with the spread hovering around a short margin and the total sitting in the low 150s. The Volunteers have the image of a defense-first group, and the numbers support that view. They hold opponents to a low field goal rate, under 38% from the floor and under 30% from 3. Their own scoring sits in the low 80s, and they keep opponents in the mid-60s, which creates that classic grinded-out profile. Illinois arrives with a much louder scoreboard presence. The Illini average around 90 points per night and win by roughly 20 points on average, and they grade out as a top 10 offense with top 5 work on the glass. Recent losses to Alabama and Connecticut cooled some early hype, yet those games also sharpened focus. Reports out of practice point to a week built around contact, rebounding, and handling physical play inside. That approach meets a Tennessee team that sits at the top of the national charts in offensive rebounding and features a strong interior anchor in Felix Okpara. At the same time, Illinois also ranks in the top range for offensive rebounding percentage and does not shy away from contact on missed shots. Tennessee's recent 2-point loss at Syracuse, with a final of 62-60, showed how foul trouble and turnovers can push the Volunteers into awkward half-court sets, where their offense looks less fluid if the second chance looks dry up. On the personnel side, Illinois still misses Ty Rodgers, who has yet to play this season due to a knee issue, and Tennessee big man J.P. Estrella carries a questionable tag, which trims the proven depth in the Volunteer front court even if he dresses. When you line up style of play, recent form, and how each team creates extra possessions, the matchup looks closer to a coin flip than a clear edge for the nominal home side in Nashville. As our first pick for this matchup, the Illinois Fighting Illini to cover the spread as underdogs is our full game side pick. At first glance, a meeting with Tennessee usually hints at a slower, more defensive affair because their identity rests on sturdy half-court defense and controlled tempo. They allow only about 65 points per game, and that type of profile often drives bettors toward the under. Yet the surface story hides some key details. Even with that reputation, the Volunteers still score in the low 80s on average. Illinois pushes that even higher, clearing 90 points per contest. Both teams sit in the top 20 nationally in average scoring margin, which reflects not only talent but also sustained offensive pressure on weaker opponents. Both groups also attack the offensive glass, which means more second chances and more total shot attempts. That pattern often supports higher totals without the need for a pure track meet. The recent Syracuse game turned into a compact, foul-heavy contest that still underscored how much contact Tennessee invites. Illinois has spoken openly about embracing a schoolyard-style brawl on the boards in this matchup. When two physical front courts collide, referees often respond with a tight whistle, and that outcome would send both sides to the free throw line again and again, especially late in a close game. That idea is a projection, not a promise, but it fits how these teams like to play. Tennessee's offense looks more polished this season than the old image of a team that wins by scores in the high 50s. Efficiency models place them near the top 30 on that end of the floor, while Illinois already grades as a top 10 attack. With a projected total in the low 150s, it does not take much variance for this game to land closer to an 80-75 type finish than a 68-65 outcome. A few extra putbacks, a stable shooting night from both sides, or extended late-game free throws can all push the final number higher than expected. As our second pick for this matchup, over the projected total is our full game total pick. Auburn versus Arizona. Tip-off brings two very different paths into the same arena. Auburn travels in with a new head coach and a roster built through the portal. It carries momentum from the win over NC State, where its talent on the wing and in space showed up in key stretches. Arizona stays at home in a building where it has not lost this season. The crowd leans on visiting guards for 40 minutes and turns every empty trip into noise. The Wildcats lean on depth, size, and a clear edge on the glass. They pull in far more missed shots than they give up, and that extra possession count matters in tight stretches. Auburn brings scoring punch, yet its attack leans on tough jumpers and a looser handle, as the turnover spikes against NC State showed. Arizona answers with waves of long defenders and steady half-court sets. Its path to the foul line wears down opponents in the last 10 minutes and pairs with that rebounding edge to keep the game in its control. One side works under a first-year staff, while the other moves through another season in the same system. On paper, the home team holds more steady advantages. As our first pick for this matchup, the Arizona Wildcats to cover the spread as favorites is our full game side pick. Auburn ranks inside the top 40 in scoring and prefers an open floor, early offense, and quick decisions that test transition defense. Arizona sits in the same scoring band and reaches it without heavy three-point volume. It attacks the paint, pressures closeouts, and stacks free throw attempts instead of living outside. Recent results mirror that profile. Auburn played a high-scoring game in the win over NC State, with shot-making from the wings driving long runs. Arizona traded points with Florida, UCLA, and Connecticut, then poured in close to 100 against Norfolk State while still leaning on the rim and the line. Both staffs have clear reasons to keep that style. Tempo highlights Auburn's spacing and skill. Pace also feeds Arizona's depth, its rebounding, and its ability to draw contact as legs tire. There is little incentive for either side to slow the game into a half-court slugfest built on long, low-scoring trips. As our second pick for this matchup, over the projected total is our full game total pick. That's all for now, so if you have any other games you would like reviewed, then leave a comment down below with the game you would like analyzed. Subscribe to our channel, leave a like on this video, and we'll get to it as soon as we possibly can. We would also love to hear your opinion on the picks presented to you in this video, whether you agree or disagree with them, so leave a comment down below and do let us know.